Bais.
Okay. We're going to start. Actually, on Yud Aleph Amud Bais, because we didn't finish one piece here on the bottom. Ravashi, yeah. Ravashi. Ravashi says that he said over these 10 different proofs that we follow the majority even by a statistic, that it's not an actual majority that's in front of us. He says, Amrisa l'shmaite kameder Rav Kahana. I said this teaching in front of Rav Kahana. We know there's many Rav Kahanas. One of the historians that he says there are 6 Rav Kahanas, but whatever it is, it can't be the Rav Kahana that was a student of Rav, because they have 6 generations in the middle. The Amrila, and some say Rav Kahana kamed Rav Simi. That Rav Kahana said it in front of Rav Simi. But Amarle, and he says to him, Vidilma, maybe all of these proofs are no good. Why? Because all of these proofs are Heicha de Efsher. If it's possible to check, then we don't follow the majority. You have to check. Heicha de Efsher la Efsher. Where it's impossible to examine, so then you don't examine. Then you don't need to examine. So all the proofs have one basic flaw. Good morning. They have one basic flaw, and that is that all of these proofs where we're saying that you don't have to examine is because you weren't able to examine. But it could be that you really have to rely on, that you really don't rely on a majority. Because if I was able to check, then I would have to check. All of these cases that we brought, whether it's checking in the skull, or if it's how do we know it's really the father, and all of these, because we're going to over there we're going to read when the child hits his father, that he gets killed. How do you know it's really the father? We're going to have to rely on the majority because it was the husband. All of these things, these were cases where it was impossible to check, to examine. We weren't able to prove that it's really the father, so we're going to rely on the majority. But let's say in every case that you are able to examine, then you're going to need to examine it. The Eily Teimahachi, because if you're not going to say this, Le Reb Meir, the Chayash Lemiyuta, Reb Meir holds that you don't follow the majority. We say that he's not going to be allowed to eat meat. Why? What's the problem here? Because according to Reb Meir, we're going to need to say Reb Meir doesn't follow the majority. Now, it's very possible that the sheichet, while he's doing the shechita, so that spot that he's cutting, right at that spot, there was already a hole in the neck. So, according to Reb Meir, what are we going to have to say? We're going to have to say that when it's impossible to check, he will rely on a majority. Once we're going to say that there's a difference between when it's possible to check, when it's not possible to check, then we'll take it back to the Rabbanan. And then we're going to lose the concept of following majority, even when it's possible to check, as we'll see. If you want to say so, that Reb Meir is a vegetarian, he says you can't check because how are you supposed to know if there was a hole right on that spot on the neck? So Pesach v'Kadshim ma'ikal meimar. What are you going to do about the Korban Pesach? And what about Kadshim, things that he has to bring? I can say that he doesn't eat meat, fine. But then there are certain halachas. What are you going to say, Ma'ikal Meimar? Rather, we're going to have to say, according to Reb Meir, Hecha de Efsher. Wherever it's possible to check, you have to check. Hecha de lo Efsher, where it's impossible, like for Korban Pesach, I can't check if it's if I shechted on that spot, if that's the spot that had a hole already, exactly on that spot, de lo Efsher, then I'm not able to. I have to rely on the majority. So Hachanami, according to the Rabbanan as well, Heicha de Efsher. Really, I could say that where it's possible to examine, I have to examine. Where it's impossible, then like the proofs that we brought, then we're going to rely on the majority.
Even Reb Meir?
Now, Reb Meir, I would still have the machlekes there. Like, for example, the big machlekes was by a katan and katana. That one of the brothers passed away, and we don't know if the brother should be marrying the widow. Why? Because we don't know. Maybe the child is a eunuch. He can't have children. So Reb Meir holds that you have to wait, because you don't rely on the majority, and you can wait. So you have to wait. And the Rabbanan held that you don't have to, that you can rely on the majority, and usually it's not a problem. So they could get married even as a child, according to the Rabbanan. The only problem is that that's a ruba the lesser kaman. That's a majority that's not right here. That's a statistical majority. So Rashi says what's going to come out according to us is that why are we arguing with Reb Meir? David, do you want to join us? Come sit down, take a Gemara. We're on Daf Bais. Rashi says why, according to us, why are we argue with Reb Meir? That means we do follow a majority. How could we follow a majority? We just said that we don't have a proof that you follow a majority. So Rashi says two things. He says, first of all, you're right, these proofs are not a good proof, but there's a halach l'moshe misina that tells us that we follow a majority. Second point Rashi says is that, remember when we started out, we asked, from where do we know that you follow a majority? We said, well, from where do we know? It says in the Torah, Achir Rab Lahatis. So we said, no. We said, no, that Achir Rab Lahatis is a Ruba de Isa Kaman, is when I have 9 stores that are kosher and 1 store that isn't kosher. Or if I have a Sanhedrin, where I have 12 of the members are saying Paskening 1, and 11 are saying the other, so there's 23. So over there I have a majority in front of me. But what about a Ruba de Lesser Kaman, a statistic? Will children mature to be able to procreate? That's a statistic. That's not. I don't have children in front of me that I'm checking. So right, it's.
Why isn't it considered that it's in front of you? Right now, you look at the world and you see the majority of children.
Oh, so look, if 1 out of 6 people in the world are Asian, and I have 6 children, so it doesn't make one of them Asian. It doesn't tell me anything. It's a statistic. On the other hand, if I have 9 stores and I have a piece of meat, I have a probability now that it's probably from one of those kosher stores, not from the one treifa store. So that's a different type of rive. So Rashi says that when we said that we can't learn from Achir Rab Lahatis because we're using a different type of rive, a statistic rive, really that Gemara, don't accept that. Really, Achir Rab Lahatis tells us both, that you follow the majority by both. And Rashi concludes and he says, for this reason, when you shecht an animal, you open it up, there's 18 possibilities of things that went wrong. He says we don't check for them, because the majority of the time, we don't check for all 18. We only check for 1. See, Rashi quotes 1. In the Kuvas Areya, maybe there was a hole in the lung. He says the other ones we don't have to check. Why? Because we rely on the majority. If we didn't rely on the majority, we'd have to check each one. Can you imagine? You'd have to open up the brain to check the meninges. You'd have to check every single part. You have to, cut it into the leg to see all of that. So we rely on the majority. And so why do we check the lungs?
Because you're checking that out.
Why do we check for glad? Just rely that it's good. It's majority are good.
It's not majority.
No, it is a majority. It is a majority is good.
It's cheap.
The answer is because it's shchiach. It's more common. Even though it's the majority, Rashi adds in one factor. If it's common, you have to check for it anyway. So there's majority and there's common, and it doesn't mean it's called a miyat hamatzi. There's a minority that happens.
Significant minority.
Yeah.
The silent majority. The silent minority.
They have a question about milk. If majority of the cows are kosher. Majority of the cows are kosher. When you milk a cow, though, if the milk is coming from a treifa, an animal that's not kosher, an animal that would have died within the year, the milk is not kosher. Chalav treifa. Okay, so majority of the cows are not treifa, no problem. So you milk the cow. The problem is that let's say I milk a bunch of cows. I have all the milk in here. Now, what's my percentage of treifas here? Let's say it's 2%. Let's say it's 10%, whatever it is, doesn't matter, as long as it's not 1%. Let's say I have 10% treifas. So in this, I have 10% of the milk comes from a treifa. Now, is milk bottle, treifa milk? Would it be bottle if one to let's say there's 100 parts? So would it be it's 10 to 100, right? It's 1 to 10. So that's a problem there. It's not bottle. When would it be bottle? 1 to 60. Because of this, there's very frum people in the world that don't drink milk.
Say that last thing again. If there were 10 cows, and you
10 cows. Let's say one of them is a treifa.
One of them ended up passing away.
Yeah,
within
but
the year.
it would have.
Well,
But
we'll keep the milk
I'm
for
looking at the
years.
statistics. The statistics is that let's say every 1 in 10 is a treifa. So the milk that's in this pot, in this container, has 1/10, which is treif, statistically. So why am I allowed to drink it?
You're still saying because it's rough.
Well, Raiv doesn't help me when I have milk. I need Raiv helps me that I don't have to.
That's why
That I need batal b'shishim. I just switched over. I switched over from Raiv to shishim.
So
And some people won't drink milk because of that.
hypothetically, there's a disease. Thank God, it's very rare. But it's called mad cow disease, right?
Right.
Mad cow disease. Let's say a whole flock is infected
Right.
with it. There's a good chance, unfortunately, that many of those cows, not all of them, will die within a year.
Right.
All right. So if that
So that would
illness
be-
is
that you would have
detected,
to
you
check
can't
for.
milk any of those cows.
Right.
You can't check that.
Right. Right. So,
It
but
goes
the
out
answer
in the
is
street for a year.
the answer why we drink milk is a complicated answer. It has to do with that a statistic without a reason doesn't tell me anything. I need to have. Look, my shirt is going to get rubbed out after a few years, so I can assume that the reason why is because I'm rubbing the thing. I have an exact cause. The statistic that tells me that 1 out of 10 is a treifa doesn't tell me exactly why it's a treifa. I don't have a reason for it that comes along with the statistic. I don't need to follow those statistics if it doesn't have an exact cause that's causing it. And that's why we will drink milk. Okay.
So what about with children? Do you know them?
Oh, so for the children, that's machlokes, like Rashi concludes. That even though we don't have a proof, but we know the Rabbanan say that we follow a Raiv, and therefore the children can do Yibum.
Follow the road if it doesn't have a specific reason, and that according to that branch of thought.
No.
You don't know the specific reason why they would not be able to have children.
No, it's the opposite. Raiv do. Raiv are fine. So I follow the Raiv.
According to a mayor,
According to a mayor, it's Chaysh Lamiyut, that's his chumrah. Okay. Taisus points out that we only asked on Reb Meir from Pesach and Kodshim. If Meir doesn't eat meat, fine, but what about Pesach and Kodshim? We could have asked on Reb Meir, we could have asked that the Torah says you're allowed to eat meat. It says, Chisav nafshecha lechel basar. That according to Reb Meir, why is the Torah allowing meat? Every time you shecht, it could be there's a spot right there that you shechted right through it and you can't check it afterwards. So, Taisha says that we're referring over here to the Reb Meir's opinion would be midirabanan, not midiraisa. Midiraisa, of course, you're allowed to. You don't have to be chayish to the miyah. You don't have to suspect. It's only rabbinically that it would be a problem. Okay, we have a new Gemara here, David. If you want to follow, this is going to be easier. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav. Rav Nachman says, in the name of Rav, Ra echad sheshachat. If you see someone shechting, Imra'u mitchila vad soif. If you saw him from the beginning till the end, you saw the whole shechita. Mutar lechel mishchita, so you can eat it. Assuming that you know the halachas, and you see that he did it properly, you can eat from the shechita. V'im lav means if you didn't see the shechita the whole time, so also lechel mishchita, so you can't eat from it. Okay, that's a statement that Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav. Heichidami. What is the case? What is this person shechting? Who is this fellow? Ida yada the gomer. Gomer means that he learned. The Gemara is to learn. Gemara is the Aramaic word for Talmud. Talmud means to learn, and Gemara means to learn. It's Talmud and Gemara, it's the same book. If we know that he learned the halachas, lama lira, then why you have to watch him? We can trust him. He knows the halachas. V'di adalai gomer. If we know that he doesn't know anything, so pshita, of course you have to watch him. I need Rav to tell me this, that if I watch him, that it's going to be good, and if I don't watch him, it's no good. He doesn't know what he's doing. What we're saying is that we don't know him. We don't know, does he know the halachas, does he not know the halachas? And then we say we have to watch him. The Gemara asks, why do we have to watch him? We can assume that if someone picks up a knife and is shechting, we can assume that he knows what he's doing, that he's an expert. It's not something that you would do if you didn't know what you were doing. Anyone that takes a knife and is ready to shech, we're going to assume he knows what he's doing. Milay Tanya was not taught in a Braisa. If you find a chicken that's shechted in the market, or a person tells the shliach, go shech. He goes and he finds that it's shechted. So cheskasi shachet. The chazaka is that it was done properly. Why? Because we say that majority of the people that are doing shchita know what they're doing, and so therefore, if we don't know, we should be able to assume. So hachanami with this fellow also, we don't know if he knows the halachas. He looks like a nice guy. We don't know. So why do we have to watch him? Let's just say he's one of the majority. Right? We're back to the majority discussion. The Gemara says, "Li'olam really the yada the legamer." We know that he doesn't know the halachas, which means that if we didn't know anything, we would have assumed that everything is fine. This person, we know that he doesn't know the halachas. We asked him; he said everything wrong. And the kagayin the shachat come on, and he shechted in front of us. Chad simin shaper. He did one. You have to shech two of the pipes, the trachea and the esophagus, the windpipe and the food pipe. So he shechted the first one, and he did a very good job. We're impressed. So this guy knows what he's doing. So Mao the Taimami the high shaper. What could I have said? Since the first one pipe that he shechted, he did a good job. So Hachnami shaper, the second one, which we didn't watch, was also good. Kamash Malan, it comes to tell us that Hay Isramuya Yisramile. The first one, it happened to be that he good. It happened to be that he got lucky, but luck doesn't strike so many times that you can rely that the next one was also good. So what the chiddush of Rav is saying that even though we know he doesn't know the halachas, but we watched part of it. And the first part that we watched was excellent. It doesn't mean that the second part was good. We have to you have to watch him from beginning to end.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
when the sheikh does shchita, when he cuts the esophagus and the trachea, does he automatically always cut the carotids? Is that not part of the shchita? Or I thought that's what killed the brain at the second. Obviously, the other two things. If he didn't hit the carotid, the blood flow to the brain, chicken wouldn't be dead.
Right. I don't know.
Because
I don't know. You're supposed to
keep
cut
on
the
mentioning
breathing.
just the two pipes,
Right.
but no one mentions what about the blood flow to the brain.
Right.
That's what's always screwing out, like in a.
Right. I know that they do, but I'm not sure from the Gemara's terms if that's ma'akev and not ma'akev. I don't know the. We have to wait till we get to it.
Okay.
Is your father here?
Yeah.
We should bring him.
Oh,
We
he would
should
have
bring him
not.
in.
He was over there. I think he was in the office.
Get him.
The idach.
We should
Get
bring
him.
we
I
should
like
bring
He's
him
going to
in.
lose to the place.
Get him
Idach,
back
Shema Shah, Shema Daras.
for the-
The other pipe could be that he paused in the middle, or maybe the other pipe he chopped. We don't know how he did the second one. We only know he did the first one. Okay,
You couldn't watch another second, like
That's what we're
you
saying.
got ADD or
that's what we're
something?
saying. That you need to watch that other second. Sometimes the guy in charge likes to let people be independent. So he doesn't want to stand there the whole time. He wants them to be, just like as if I'm in and out. Don't worry, you're doing fine. He says, no, it's no good.
We had a case earlier about a kuti, right? And we said if a kuti
Yeah.
had a mashgiach, then it was
Yeah.
fine. If it didn't have a mashgiach,
Right.
then we asked him to eat. So at the time, it implied that everybody else is fine. A kuti needs a mashgiach.
Right. Because
So
we're assuming
now-
right from it's saying it's
Now we're,
should go
now
for
we're
the
adding a
next level.
caveat.
uh-huh.
You have
But
to
also
be
people who
Yod
don't know
and
halacha. Eventually we're going to find that
Well,
everybody.
the halachas of shita, he
Right.
doesn't know.
We have a question for the shaykhid.
Sheikhid.
Cutting the veins, the arteries in the neck, is that ma'akiv? Let's say they cut only the pipes and not the
have to.
blood.
You have to cut the veins. Because if you're not cutting, there's a lacha, if you're not, there's no blood, it's kosher, according to the Rambam. But you have to cut the veins because this is the chayos for the behemoth. So you have to cut the
The veins or
So
the
what's the
veins
purpose
are,
of-
veins
So,
are,
or
so
the
let's
carotid
say
the
arteries.
veins are here. It's like, let's say it's like, that's the air pipe, and these are the veins right here. So you have to cut, when you cut the veins, one
Uh-huh.
or two veins.
Veins or arteries? Because that's the
Veins.
carotid arteries.
Veins. It's two big veins.
That's
That's arteries.
That's the
arteries
Right.
like this.
So, but let's say he did shchita and he didn't. Is it
It's,
kosher?
It's no, I don't think it's going to be kosher because
Uh-huh.
the blood is going to be Adam, no.
Adam נקרש.
Adam, לא נקרש. Adam נכנס באיברים, נבלע באיברים. The blood is going to be, engraved.
אבל מצד ההלכה זה...
Unto the asmek, it's called. It's
Mhm.
asmek.
Yeah, that's me. The stomach,
Right.
like red.
Okay, Yeshakayach. Boy minei Rav Dimi bar Yosef mi Rav Nachman. Rav Dimi bar Yosef asks Rav Nachman, Ha'imr l'shluchei. If someone tells his shliach, tells his worker, his messenger, say shchait, go and shecht for me. V'halach matzah shachat. Then the balabas goes and he finds that it's shechted. So ma, what's the din? Well, that's an interesting question, but we just had the answer. Amar Loi, Rav Nachman tells him, cheskasi shachat. That we say that it was shechted good. That was the brisa that we just quoted. Ha'imah l'shluchit say you try. He's setting him up here. This is his question. Let's say he tells the shliach, go and take truma for me. Now the truma is 1 out of 50, 2 out of 100 that you have to take the grain. You have to give it to the kohen. So he tells the shliach, go separate my grain for me to separate it for the kohen. V'halacha matzah tarim. He sees that there's a portion that's separated, that's designated for the kohen. Mai, what's the din? Amalei ein cheskasi tarim. It's not good. So he says, manavshach. Why is it not good? If we say that there's a chazaka, there's an assumption that a shliach will if he accepted to do the job, that he's going to finish it. And if we say that assumption is true, then why by truma do we say that maybe he didn't do it? If we don't have this chazaka, then why do we say the shchita is good? You see, the problem is that it could be someone else overheard what they were talking. And do we say, did the shliach actually do the shchita? Or did this other guy run over and say, yeah, it's okay, I'll do it? And he did it quickly, by the truma as well. Did someone else overhear that he was appointed to take truma? And this other person went and did it. So Rav Nachman is telling him that by the shchita we say that it was him, and by the truma we say that it was someone else. So he's asking him, he's saying, do you say that the chazaka, that the shliach would fulfills his mission, then why do we say by truma not? And if you don't say that a shliach does it, then why do we say by shchita it's good? Amalei, he says to him, he says to Rav Nachman says to Rav Dimi bar Yosef, l'chiseichel ala kura de milcha. When you go measure for me a core, 30 saw, a large measurement of salt, If you pay me a big salary, so then I'll tell you the answer. It's a joke.
I'll tell you the reason.
I'll tell you. I'll explain the difference. Rashi says, "B'dichus ba'al ma'avi." He says it as a joke. Like, he says, really. You see, they made jokes also. We know that. The Rambam writes that when Amoraim were tired, they would tell each other jokes to wake themselves up. He writes in the Shemona Prakim.
You can write
He gives example.
Can you write a sefer on jokes?
Well,
of the Amoraim?
he gives an example of two jokes. The Rambam over there gives two jokes. Something about an elephant going through the eye of a needle. He gives an example of two of the jokes. I don't know if we can put a whole joke book together. So li'olam, also you have to know the person to get the joke. Sometimes you have to see his face. It's the way you say it, right? So li'olam really ein chazaka shliach shlichusei. We don't have this assumption. We don't know if the shliach did it. So by shchita inami inashachrina shama. I skipped the word dilma because the Bach takes it out. Even if another person shama va'azil shachat. Even if another person overheard the instructions from the Bais to the messenger, and he went ahead and he shechted instead of the shliach, so what? If he went and shechted, he's probably good, because we're going to assume that anyone that's going to pick up a knife and shecht knows what he's doing. Today we would say this about flying an airplane. So if he's a pilot, he probably knows how to fly. I don't assume that someone's just going to go up there and fly. The same thing with the sheichet. If he's picking up a knife and he's shechting, I assume he knows what he's doing. Else he wouldn't be doing that.
So, but pilots have a licensing thing.
And the
So
sheichet
that's-
also
that's
has a licensing
Yeah.
thing.
So there's a license number on his.
Well, after a time, we had to give pilots licenses. Initially,
before.
we didn't do that. Same with the sheikhtim. Now, sheikhtim need to get it's called Kabbalah or something. They have to get. But initially, there was just if you knew what you were doing, you were fine.
Before the Wright brothers, no pilots had license.
After the Wright brothers, I'm
That
sure.
was my joke.
Probably
If the
even
Amora's joke.
probably
Yeah,
even
yeah.
cars. When did we start to
Driving
get
licenses.
driving license? When did we require them? After years of seeing hey, this is no good, But truma, dilma inashachini shama va'azol tarim. By truma, there's a problem. Because truma, it's possible, like we said, that maybe someone else came along and he did the truma. Havale tarim shleimidas. And there's a rule that with tarim shleimidas ain't shemasi truma. If someone takes truma without the intention of the owner, it's not considered truma. It's a very interesting halacha. We learn shlichus from truma, that it says gam atem. You also, in the Gemara learns, you also gam tells me that you can make a shliach to do things for you. That's exactly that. From that ma'atem b'nei bris, and then there's a bunch of things. It also says ma'atem l'daitchem, af shluchachem l'daitchem. So, which means that if you want to make a shliach to do something for you, which you can, and across the board, you can have a shliach go to the chuppah for you if you don't decide you don't want to be at the chuppah, you don't like pictures. So you can send your friend to go give the ring to my wife and say reyat mekudeshes to my friend
And the wife
down
can
in the
send-
crowd that doesn't like to stand here in the
Wife
pictures.
sends a
The wife
And the
can
wife
send a
also
shliach
sends a
too.
shliach, 2 tape recorders at a
The
shir,
wife
right?
can send a shliach
So,
too.
Oh,
but
what
you can,
beautiful wedding pictures!
so
So
you can make a shliach to do anything for you, just about. You can't make a shliach to put on tefillin for you because the tefillin needs to go on your body. It needs to go on your body. He's putting it on his body. It's not going on your body. But you can make a shliach. So we learn this from truma, that you can send a shliach to take truma for you, to separate the truma, and the rest you can eat. The only thing is that it needs to be with your knowledge. Just like when you do it, you know that you're taking truma. So also, when you send a shliach, it needs to be with your knowledge. So if someone goes along to your grain, and he separates grain, he says, this is going to be truma, and you never sent him, it's not considered truma. Now, what's interesting is that someone could go along with his grain, with his own grain, and say that this should be truma on the grain that's right behind this fence that's in your property. That would be fine. But to separate your grain and make it into truma, that he can't do unless you sent him as a shliach, or else it's tarim shleimidas. He's using your grain to take this, to separate the truma, and you never sent him. So here's what we're saying: that when someone tells a shliach, "Go and shecht for me," we're assuming that the guy did not shecht. We don't know if he shechted. Someone else shechted, but it's no problem. The other guy was probably a good shechet if he picked up a knife. When we send him, he says, "Go take truma for me." We assume that the guy did not go. Someone else listening on the side went and did it. That's a problem, because the guy on the side had no rights to do that, and it doesn't work. Okay. Now the Gemara asks.
There's no zochel on them shlo b'fanav there?
Yeah, if it's your own grain, if it would be your own grain, if it's this guy on the side used his own grain, then it would work. But he can't do it with his grain.
On the other person's grain.
Okay.
He
Lema right.
gave it 1 out of 40, so then it was.
That's interesting.
He did him a favor.
That's not Gemara. Yeah.
Instead of the 1 out of 50 or 60.
But it still needs to be midas. That's what this Gemara in Eily. The boys learn it in the first year.
Right.
They remember that piece over there, and in Yerushalayim midas. Okay. Lema reiv mitzayin etzel shchita mumchanein tanoihi. We said that if someone's going to pick up a knife to shecht, let's assume that he's good. But let's say now that this is a machlekes tanaim. Not everyone holds with this. The Tanya, as was taught in the Bais. Hareisha Abdullah Gediya v'Tanagolav. Let's say someone lost his goats and his chickens. V'halach u'matzah shchutim. And he goes, he finds that they're shechted. So, what's going to be over here? Rabbi Yehuda Iser. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's us. Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eily, right? Rabbi Chanina ben Eishel, Rabbi Yossi Aglili mater. Rabbi Chanina, the son of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, says that it's mutter. You can eat them. You find them shechted. You can eat them. Rabbi Yehuda, which was Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eily, says no, you can't eat them. Amar Rabbi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi comes along and discusses this argument. He says, Nirin Dvarim Shel Rabbi Yehuda Shematzim Bashba. He says, it appears Rabbi Yehuda is correct if you found them in the garbage, because they were thrown out. So probably it was the person knew he didn't do a good shechita. Excuse me. But if he finds them in the house, let's assume that they're good. My love, b'hakamifli, is it not that this is the machlekes? One of them holds, which would be Reb Chanina ben Eishel Bais Aglili, that why is it kosher? Because he holds the majority of the people that shecht are good sheichtim, and so that's why it's good. Rabbi Yehuda says, we do not say that majority of people that pick up a knife to shecht are going to be mumche. We say no, and